The first time I heard her voice, it wasn't meant for me. It floated through the cracked door of a quiet hospital room, soft, steady, comforting someone else. I was sitting across the hallway, staring at the dull gray tiles beneath my shoes, waiting for news I wasn't ready to hear. My hands were trembling, though I kept them clasped together as if holding them tightly could stop the storm inside me. "You're not alone," she said. Her voice carried something rare, certainty. Not the forced kind people use when they don't know what else to say, but the kind that feels like it has roots, like it knows something you don't. I looked up. The door wasn't fully open, but I could see a glimpse of her, just the edge of her shoulder, her hand resting gently on someone else's. She wasn't trying too hard. She wasn't dramatic. She was simply present. And somehow that felt powerful. I didn't know it then, but that moment would change everything. 1. The distance that wasn't there. My name is Daniel. At the time, I believed in distance. I believed that people drift away. That time creates gaps. That loss is permanent. That once something slips out of your hands, it's gone for good. That day in the hospital, I was waiting for my father. Or rather, waiting to lose him. The doctors had already said enough. Words like critical, uncertain, prepare yourself echoed in my head. I hated those words. They felt like rehearsed lines from a script no one wanted to admit was already written. I sat there alone for hours until she stepped out. She noticed me immediately, not in the casual, passing way people glance at strangers, but in a way that felt like she saw me. "Are you waiting for someone?" she asked. I almost laughed. Wasn't everyone here? "Yeah," I said quietly. She nodded like she understood more than I'd said. Then she sat beside me without asking, leaving just enough space so it didn't feel intrusive. "My name's Alara," she said. "Daniel." We didn't talk much after that, but strangely I didn't feel alone anymore. 2. A presence that stayed over the next few days. I saw her often. Sometimes she was talking to patients. Sometimes sitting quietly beside them. Sometimes just walking through the hallway like she carried something invisible that made people feel lighter. She wasn't a doctor, not exactly a nurse either. She just helped. And somehow, she always seemed to be near when I needed someone, even when I didn't say anything. One evening, after I got the worst possible update about my father, I walked out of the hospital and kept walking. I didn't know where I was going. I just needed air, space, something. The city felt too loud, too alive for the kind of silence I carried inside. I ended up at a small park across the street, sitting on a cold metal bench, staring at nothing. "And then you always come here when it gets too heavy." I turned. "Alara," I frowned. "What do you mean always? This is my first time here." She smiled softly but didn't answer. Instead, she sat beside me again. Same distance. Same quiet presence. "You don't have to hold everything alone," she said. Something inside me cracked. "I'm not holding it," I snapped. "I'm losing it." She didn't argue, didn't try to fix it. "You think you're losing everything," she said gently. "But some things don't leave, not the way you think." I shook my head. "That's not how life works." She looked at me, her eyes calm. "Are you sure?" 3. The night everything changed, my father passed away 3 days later. There's no poetic way to describe that moment. No beautiful words, just silence. Heavy, crushing silence. I remember standing there, staring at the empty bed, feeling like the world had just erased a part of itself. And then a hand on my shoulder. "Alara." "I'm here," she said, that's all. But it was enough to keep me standing. 4. The years that followed after the funeral, life didn't stop. It never does, but it changed. I moved cities, started a new job, tried to rebuild something that felt like a normal life. And yet, she was still there. Not always physically. Sometimes I'd see her in a crowded street, just for a second, before she disappeared into the crowd. Sometimes I'd hear her voice in my head when things got difficult. Sometimes I'd feel that same calm presence beside me, even when I was alone. At first I thought it was grief, a coping mechanism, a trick of the mind, but it didn't feel like imagination. It felt real, too real. 5. The question I was afraid to ask years passed. And one day I saw her again clearly, undeniably, in a quiet cafe. She was sitting by the window, sunlight falling across her face like time hadn't touched her at all. I walked in slowly, sat across from her. "You don't age," I said. She smiled faintly. "You notice things now." I leaned forward. "What are you?" She tilted her head. "What do you think?" I hesitated, then said the only thing that made sense. "You're not just a person, are you?" She didn't answer directly. Instead, she asked, "Do you remember what I told you in the hospital?" I nodded. "You said some things don't leave." "And do you believe that now?" I looked at her. Really looked. And for the first time I saw it, the depth in her eyes, like they held more time than they should. "Yes," I said quietly. 6. The truth beyond reach, Alara, I said slowly. "Why are you always there?" "No matter where I go," she leaned back slightly, her expression soft. "Because you never needed to reach me," she said. "I was always within your reach." "That doesn't make sense." "It will." She stood up. And for a moment I felt something strange, like the world itself had shifted slightly. "Daniel," she said, "there are things in life you think you lose, but they don't disappear. They change form. They stay with you, guide you, protect you." I swallowed. "Are you saying you're one of those things?" She smiled, but this time there was something deeper in it. "I'm saying I've always been part of your story." 7. The memory that was hidden that night. I couldn't sleep. Her words echoed in my mind. "I've always been part of your story." And then a memory surfaced, faint at first, then clearer. I was a child, maybe 6 or 7, lost in a crowded market, panicking, crying. And then a girl had knelt beside me. "It's okay," she had said. "You're not alone." Same voice, same calm, same presence. It was her. It had always been her. 8. The realization the next day. I went back to the cafe. She was there. Like she knew I would come. "You remember now," she said. I nodded slowly. "You've been there my whole life." "Yes." "Why?" She looked at me, not as a stranger, not even as a friend, but as something deeper. "Because you needed someone who would never leave." My throat tightened. "And now?" I asked. She stepped closer. "Now you don't need me the same way." A quiet fear crept in. "Does that mean you're going to disappear?" She shook her head. "No, Daniel," she said gently. "It just means you'll finally understand." 9. You were never alone. Close your eyes, she said. I hesitated, then did. For a moment there was nothing, just darkness, and then memories. Every moment I thought I was alone. Every time I felt like I had no one. She was there. Not always visible, not always heard, but always present. A quiet force guiding me forward. A voice when I needed strength. A presence when everything else faded. I opened my eyes, tears blurred my vision. "You were always there," I whispered. She nodded. "You just couldn't see me yet." 10. The meaning of reach. What are you? I asked again, my voice softer now. She stepped back slightly, her form almost blending with the light. "I'm the part of you that never gave up," she said. I froze. "What?" "The strength you thought you didn't have. The hope you thought you lost. The voice that kept you going when everything else told you to stop." I shook my head, overwhelmed. "That's not possible," she smiled gently. "It is." The world felt different, like something had shifted into place. "You mean you're not separate from me?" "I was never separate," she said. "You just needed to see me as someone else before you could recognize me within yourself." 11. The final truth. I stood there in silence. Everything I believed about distance, loss, and separation, it was wrong. She wasn't someone I had to reach. She was something I had always carried. "You have never been out of my reach," she said softly. And now I understood. It wasn't about her. It was about me. 12. The goodbye that wasn't one. "Will I still see you?" I asked. She smiled. In a different way. Her form began to fade, not like something disappearing, but like something blending into everything around it. "You won't need to look for me anymore," she said. "Why?" "Because you'll know where to find me." I took a step forward. Wait, but she was gone. 13. The life that followed years later. I still think about her. Not as someone I lost, but as something I found. In moments of doubt, I hear that same voice. In moments of fear, I feel that same calm. In moments when life feels overwhelming, I remember. I was never alone. I was never out of reach. Epilogue. Some people spend their whole lives searching for something outside themselves. A person, a place, a reason, but sometimes what you're searching for has been with you all along, waiting, quietly, patiently, until you're ready to see it.